So the question is always asked, is this certification going to get me a job? Well, I'm here to give you the answer. It's no. There is no certification that is going to get you a job just by virtue of having that certification. And I should know, I have more than 40 certifications. I'm going to explain why I did so many, what value certifications actually have, and where you want to place it to be able to do better in actually getting these jobs. So you probably wondering then, if certifications don't get a job, then what does? And the reality is, what gets jobs is demonstrable, communicated. Okay, let me try it again. What gets jobs is when you have a skill that you can communicate effectively that you have it. That's what it takes. Nothing else. So where exactly do certifications find their value? I do want to talk about that because I do believe that if we put certifications in their right place, we can do a lot better with them. And then we won't find that many people that would say things like, oh man, I'm certified, why am I not getting a job? Well, the reason why is because you haven't communicated the skill that you have. So let's go through it. First of all, let me say that even jobs that say that they require a certain certification, I want you to notice, like, part of the requirement is usually that if we hire you, you then have to go get it within 60 or 90 days or so. And I've worked at a lot of jobs like that say, like, yes, we desire the certs, but we'll hire you without the certs, and then after you get the job, you can go ahead and we'll even pay for your security plus. Now, what that actually is evidence of is the fact that certs don't get the job. If they're willing to hire you, interview you, review you without a certification, and tell you you have 60 to 90 days to go get it, it means the cert did not get the job. Everything else did. And they looked at you and said, you know what? You are the right person for this job. And as a result, we'll, defer the whole cert thing, and you can go ahead and get that after we already hired you. But notice that it wasn't a factor in the hiring predicament. So I put together a little slideshow. Makes me feel, kind of like uppity. Slideshows. Cool stuff. Anyway, here we go. So what we want is actually a job. So what we do is, like, we realize that there are certain jobs that are available to us. Up on the screen, I have a help desk technician, systems administrator, cloud engineer, network engineer, security analyst. And what ends up happening is that these are the type of jobs, but we look at it and we realize that these jobs are locked away from us. And then it tells us to check your skills inventory to unlock your reward. Your reward being the job that you desire. So what do? You go ahead to your skills inventory and there's all these bars there, but you're not even aware of the skills that are even there for you. So you want to have the right skills for the job, but then you check your skills inventory and you don't even know what skills are required. So now what do? You try to build your skills awareness, and this is where certifications are good. Certifications, mentorship, experience, or just like raw dogging it, some people that just go at it and try to figure it out. I don't want to discount that at all. But this is where certifications do great. They help build your skills awareness. They let you know what skills are out there, what vocab is out there, but that's all they're really good for. It's to build your skills awareness. Now, I don't want to downplay that because for me, that was really important. And the reason why it was so important was because I was brand spanking new, had no skills, had no awareness of the skills, didn't know the lingo of this type of community, had never even used Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Teams. Or I had never actually used Microsoft Windows since like 2006. So with that, I needed the awareness if I was going to get into this field. And one of the best ways to build skills awareness is by getting the certification, which will then make you aware of what skills are there for at a certain level. So then you go ahead, you become aware of the skill, and boom, now you know what skills are out there. So things like Active Directory, identity and access management, stigging, scripting, subnetting, authentication, all these are skills that you are now aware of. But what's the issue? You don't have it. Certifications do not give you the skills. All certifications do is give you awareness of the skill that you're going to need. So now what do? You want to get the skill in order to get the job. And how do you get the skill? You can do it through home labbing. You can do it through mentoring if you know someone that can walk you through it. You can do it through internships if you're fortunate enough to have the opportunity. or you can do it through raw dogging because, again, I don't want to discredit that. So after that, you go through those processes and you acquire certain skills at certain levels. And this is what your skills can look like. Now this isn't anything. This is just arbitrary to say that skills are dispersed across the way. So now you go back to the rewards section, and boom, now something unlocks. You now see the reward, and congratulations, you are qualified as a junior systems administrator because of the skills. But what we were able to realize is that the cert placed in the right place in the track of all this became valuable if it's placed there. See, here's what I'm trying to say. The certs do not get jobs. Doesn't matter what the cert is. As I said, I've got 40 of them. I've got cloud certs, networking certs, CCNA, JNCIA. I'm working on my CCNP. I've got the Red Hat certification. I have LPIC 1, LPIC 2, and a bunch of others. Security Plus and Azure AZ-104, MS-900, AZ-900. Like, the list goes on and on. Now you're probably wondering, why would I do that many certs if it doesn't lead to a job? Because these are tools that we use. I want to know how to be able to use the tools from the vendor's perspective or what's expected of me in that level. So that's the reason why I go for the certifications, is that I need better skill awareness. And that skill awareness can translate to the job. And it does work a lot better that way as well. And it gives you the opportunity to be able to express yourself in how that skill works. I want to spend the last part of this video to tell you different ways that you can present yourself with these type of skills, or even for these type of certifications while you're doing the job, and how it might sound a little bit better than the typical way. For this, I'm going to grab a little bit of the equipment behind me. Let me go ahead and I'm going to grab a firewall. And then I'm also going to grab a router. And let me also grab a switch. So I'm going to leave these right here for now. And with this, I'm going to give you a couple of templates in order to talk about like how to communicate the skills or the skills awareness and how to translate it when you're going to get a job. So first of all, you might be asking me why I would do so many certs if it doesn't lead to jobs. Well, and here's how I would actually present it as such as well. So for example, let me take the CCNA as the first one. And this is literally like why I went into it as well. So first of all, when it comes to the CCNA and you look at Cisco, I heard that Cisco kind of rules the world when it comes to networking. Like more than anything, that Cisco was a thing. So of course, the most important thing would be to get some hands-on experience. So because of that, I got myself a switch, and I got myself a router. And as a result of that, I plugged them in. Coincidentally, the switch worked fine. Like you plug it in and it started working, and I was able to have the devices talk to each other. But when it came to the router, I couldn't make this thing work, not even a little bit. And I was wondering why. Like I thought I had the wires all corrected the right way. I thought it was something like, you know, when you get the router from your ISP, and then I would plug it in and it didn't work. I wondered why. And I was looking up things online and I couldn't even understand the Redditors when they were talking about it. So then what exactly do? I went out and took my CCNA. Now, when I took the CCNA, they went through all kinds of stuff about networking. Not only was I able to find out why I wasn't able to make my router work, I was able to find out all the other things that this router could do that I didn't even know. So then I started practicing on it. I got it to work just fine. It went out to the internet, and I did pretty good. Everything seemed to be pretty good. Other things that I learned from it is why the switch worked right out of the box. But then I learned other things I could do with the switch, like being able to separate it from VLANs. They're between this layer 3 switch and these layer 2 switches over here, and all these other things. Finally, what I ended up learning in the end was a router wasn't enough in order for me to work for the internet. So I had to learn a lot of other things like security by using firewalls. I learned that Palo Alto was one of the bigger companies when it came there, but I didn't know how to make this thing work either. So the most logical thing for me to do, and I found online, is that I found that they offered a certification with the administering this firewall. I took that certification. I learned how to make it work. And now what I realized is that these things might be small and that can fit in my hands, but you use the same operating systems in anywhere that you go. As a result, I now know how to bring out some of its full power. I've done it for myself over here, and I really believe that I'll be able to do it in any workplace. Now I want you to stop and think exactly what I just did. I took things, I took the practical experience, and I took them from just doing this and how I was confused, how the certification worked for me, where I was able to learn how to bring out the power of it, how I was able to do it myself, and then how I was able to apply it to the workplace. With that, it's actually no longer even about the certification. The certification was just for the awareness of the skill. And then from there, I was able to communicate how I'm able to make it work in the actual workplace. Again, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the value of certifications is being able to build your awareness of what skills are out there and to be able to learn what there is to be done. After that, you gain the skill by doing it. I want to leave you with one last thing, one last way of communicating your skills after certs. So the other thing that I was able to do was I was able to talk about projects that I was able to do. When I first went into IT, I had no experience beforehand, so I didn't even know what projects to do. As a matter of fact, I might make another video about this, but when I first got into IT, I didn't plan on doing any certifications. I thought myself tech savvy. I thought I knew it already. I was able to connect things together, and I was even able to expand the Wi-Fi in my house by buying another router and plugging that in. I had no idea why it worked, what it did, and I thought that should be enough. It obviously isn't. But then I started realizing that people were saying that hands-on things are so much better. I looked up things about how the internet worked, and I was kind of interested in networking from the jump for other reasons. I'll make another video about that too, like about cloud and cybersecurity. But let me just say it right now before I get too far off subject. But so here's what it is. You know, there's a phrase that says, even if there's a gold rush and there's not a lot of gold, you can still make a lot of money selling shovels. So that's where I kind of saw networking. And the gold rush at the time, like when I first started, was in cloud and cybersecurity. And in my mind, I thought cybersecurity was like all the internet security and like what happens in cyberspace outside the house or outside of a corporate network. I had no idea that, what happened with endpoints too. But I thought it was like protecting the internet and guardians on the internet. So I was like, well, no network, no cybersecurity. And then with cloud, I just thought like, I'm getting there by going over the internet. So again, no network, no cloud. And it seemed like people were running to cloud and to cybersecurity and away from networking. So I was like, if I go into networking, I have a better chance of getting in because people are going away from that. And then someone told me that it wasn't glamorous. I said, perfect. I can just stay in the background, be able to build my life. This was like a dream come true. So I started trying to go into networking. And then as I started doing networking, I typed in projects about how the internet works on Google. That's all I cared about. I was like, okay, so let me do some projects, get some hands-on experience. And the very first project that I came across was how to configure MPLS. I had no idea what it was, but I was like, oh, this is what it is, and I'll do it. And I was confused. Why? Because I wasn't at that level yet, and I didn't even know that I wasn't at that level. I didn't even know what MPLS was at the time. But that's a bad thing about just jumping in and trying to do it from, just with the experience. You don't have any type of guidance. So with that, I got confused, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to start from the beginning. And I went back, and I said I was going to start studying for my A+, not because I really thought the cert was going to get me the job, but because I need to be aware of what the entry level of this field was like. And that's exactly why I started doing the certifications. Certifications do not get jobs. There is not a single cert on this planet that's going to get you a job. What certifications do is that they give you awareness of what the field is like, so you can go ahead and then acquire that skill through labbing and practice, and then you communicate that skill to someone who then gives you a job. And I believe that that is a proper place for it. I make more videos about this, and I hope that this was good for you. Man, I ended that video. I forgot what I was even talking about. I was going to give you another method of being able to communicate your skills after the cert, and I want to give you a little bit of a script that you want to follow and something that you want to do with your life. And here's what the script is. While I was studying for this cert, I came across the concept of whatever the concept is. That interested me, period. So I took that concept, I tried to figure out how it worked, and here's what I built. Now, let me do that with the Security Plus. While I was studying for the Security Plus, I was interested in the subject of SIMs. As a result, I found Josh Madicor's Build Your Own SIM in Azure, and I did that project. Here's what I learned from it. Here's where I see it applying to this workplace. Or here's how I can apply this to the workplace. And you can do this with anything. Like, while I was studying for Linux, I learned the concept of containers. I saw how you can run different services out of these containers to be able to run more efficiently. Here's what I did. I built my DNS server and some Active Directory stuff out of the containers, and here's how it can be good in the workplace. So what you really want to do is you never want to be able to say, I have a cert and therefore hire me. What you want to say is, I have a cert, here's what I learned from it, here's how I applied it, here's the skill, here's how it pertains to you. And then you can present that. So let me reiterate one more time because, man, I'll be getting off track. But let me reiterate it one more time. Certs by themselves do not get jobs. There will seldom ever be a time where a person can say, I have the certs, therefore hire me. What certs do is that it builds your awareness of what's in that field. That awareness should lead to your curiosity, wanting to gain the skill that it talked about. You do that through any type of practical or hands-on mechanism. And then from there, you find a way to clearly articulate it to anyone hiring so that they know you have the skill. And with that, I believe I've covered everything, and that's about it for today. I'll talk more about this, and if you get out of this, where certs are important, and to me, this actually makes it more important than just getting a job. This gives you an entry part and a way to kind of move forward with it. From here, I do want to talk a little bit more about how to study for certifications and also how to home lab. I'm going to be making more videos about that. So stay tuned. I look forward to talking to you another time.